Good morning. Welcome back. The second video of vaping mushrooms. Before you, I have my selection of mushrooms, a scale, a beaker, 2 vaping devices. This session, I would like to talk about why these 6 mushrooms. Agarikon, as the package says, backed by science, lab tested, boost immunity, reduce inflammation, breathe easier, long life. Pretty bold on a package of mushroom powder. Essentially it's powder. They used a hot water extraction, meaning that they soaked it in hot water until it broke down, and then they let the water evaporate and they scooped up the powder, essentially. What I'm getting into, I know I said but what I'm getting into is ethanol extraction from this point. And why? Well, the first one, the one I just showed you, is Agarikon, Fomitopsis officinalis, also known as Larchiformis officinalis, which is because it was which is a larch, the trees that it grew on in Europe. Is a medicinal polypore used for millennia to contrast several diseases, particularly the pulmonary ones. A rich literature has dealt with an ethnomycological aspects, but isolation and chemical characterization of single compounds have only recently significantly developed. So you get it right now. I mean, pulmonary ones. That's the idea of these 6. Each of these 6 has a particular pulmonary action. But let's go into, according to several reports, there's evidence of a broad spectrum antibacterial, antiviral activity, including pathogens like Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Yersinia pseudotuberculosis, and Staphylococcus aureus, as well as orthopox virus. Chlorinated cormorants from Mycelia and Lenostin triterpenoids from basidomes have been demonstrated to be directly responsible for antiviral, antibacterial, and trypanocidal activity, respectively. A wider literature deals instead with crude extracts, including under determined mixture of metabolites whose efficacy in vitro is yet far from being standardized, as extraction and treatment methodology are highly variable. And so this is my point. My point is pulmonary purposes. The second one I would like to give you an idea, cordyceps. I use Cordyceps militaris because I believe, from what I've read, that it's probably the one that has most of the substrates that we're looking for in any one type of cordyceps. There are thousands of cordyceps, yet militaris is the one I want to use. Of course, cordyceps is the mushroom everybody sees on the internet as the one that infects bugs, makes zombie ants, etc. But here's my point. Ethnopharmacological relevance. Cordyceps sinensis is a fungus used in traditional Chinese medicine as a tonic to soothe the lung for treatment of fatigue and respiratory diseases. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is a chronic, irreversible, and debilitating lung disease showing myofibroblast expansion, excessive deposition of extracellular matrix, endothelium leading into breathing difficulty. Our previous observation revealed a partial relief of lung fibrosis in patients suffering from severe acute respiratory syndrome. We hypothesized that cordyceps has beneficial effects on lung fibrosis, and the objective of the study is to explore the targets of cordyceps in relief of lung fibrosis in animal and cell models to gain insight into underlying mechanisms. Okay, so that's cordyceps. I should again. This is a wonderful video for us. Okay, the next one would be lion's mane. Okay. On the bottle it says, container, it says focus, clarity, and mood. Lion's mane has been used for years in correlation to neuro. So this paper, Heracrum erinaceus, which is lion's mane, extracts inhibit metastasis of cancer cells to the lung. Okay, they used mice, they stuck cancer in it, and they decided to see if by virtual ingestion of Heracrum erinaceus would it inhibit metastasis of cancer cells to the lungs. But anyway, that's the point. That is the point, actually. The study investigated the anti-metastatic activity of 4 Heracrum erinaceus edible mushroom extracts using C26 murine colon carcinoma cells as indicator of inhibition of cell migration to the lung. Hot water, microwave, 50% ethanol extracts strongly elicited cancer cell death through apoptosis and inhibited metastasis of cancer cells to lungs by 66% and 69% respectively. So I guess they did hot water and microwave ethanol extracts. How interesting. How interesting. And this was cited by a nutritional and post-harvest quality preservation of mushrooms, antioxidant activity and cytotoxicity of exopolysaccharide from mushroom, Heracranum coralloides, experimental evidence of anti-metastatic action of genocide RG6, a systematic review, and it goes on. Here's an article, cytotoxicity of blended versus single medicinal mushroom extracts in human cancer cell lines, contribution of polyphenol and polysaccharide content. The use of mushrooms contributes to human nutrition by providing low lipid content of lipids and high dietary fiber content, as well as significant content of other biologically active compounds such as polysaccharides, minerals, vitamins, polyphenolic antioxidants. This study was aimed to determine the content of polyphenols and polysaccharides, as well as the cytotoxic and anti-oxidative properties of several medicinal mushroom preparations, content of total phenols and flavonoids, a preparation of blended mushroom extracts, lentifoam, superpolyboron, agarikon, agarikon plus, agarikon 1, and mycoprotect 1. So they had their set of mushrooms working together to get a quantitative result. I have this group of mushrooms I want to work together to get a quantitative result. The next one, turkey tail. On the bottle it says immune support and defense. Turkey tail has been used for millennia to offer its support in medicinal purposes. According to the recent WHO figure, cancer is the second most leading cause of mortality in the world and accounts for estimated 9.6 million deaths in 2018. Most cancer deaths occur in developing and so-called low and middle income countries where access to modern medicines are not widely available. The common cancer deaths are from the lung, colorectal, stomach, liver, and breast cancer respectively. While other common cancers also include prostate and skin cancers, the major control measure of cancer is chemotherapy by using a variety of small molecular weight compounds and biological agents. As always, nature has its fair share of abundance as a source of these agents. And then I wanted to go down to part 3 in this report. Let me see. Let me search quick the page. Studies during the 1990s established that turkey tail polysaccharides such as PSK could inhibit hepatic carcinogenesis in rats induced by 3-foot-methyl-4-dimethyllaminosobenzene. The direct effect of PSK on gene expression profile in cancer cells was also established back in the 1980s. So it has a direct correlation with the effects of cancer. As a reminder of what I'm trying to put together here is a pulmonary defense. People have been smoking cigarettes for many years and they have pulmonary issues. I would like to produce a mushroom blend that offers relief of these pulmonary issues. They used immune modulation for 5 major mushrooms, and applications to Integrative Oncology is another report, and it lists turkey tail as part of their group. A part of the group was agaricorn, cordyceps, and chicken of the woods, and reishi. Now, the good thing about reishi and maitake is they are nice mushrooms to put on your plate. And of course, the hen of the forest is as well. They do have their excellent plate manners, so to speak. But my point's much less of that. My point is the turkey tail. The other ones can be provided for your plate. My idea, you know, my idea is to bring these 6 mushroom sources together to prepare one vaping solution. The next one on the list is chaga. Chaga is balance, restore, and relax. We use chaga for many years in our coffee. A lot of your in the middle of the 20th century, it was still used in Siberia for its properties by Russian farmers and workers too poor to buy tea. They crush it and drink it as an infusion. The Khanty people, and that's a group in Siberia formerly called Ostyaks, also used in traditional medicine for different therapeutic indications such as anti-Semitic and anti-tubercular to cure digestive disorders, or even to prevent cardiac and hepatic illnesses. They crush the asexual form of the chaga in several ways: by infusion, inhalation, or maceration in water with charcoal obtained after burning to make body soap, which is used as an antiseptic. Chaga is a very versatile fungus. So we go down here. French chaga, there's Ukraine chaga, there's Canadian chaga. There's reports, quantification method by high performance liquid chromatography, tandem mass spectrometry of butylene and butylenic acid, and endotodenol deal, was developed to study the French chaga and compare it to the concentration in the other chagas. But my point here is this method was also used to identify and quantify 3 compounds in other traditional preparations of chaga: aqueous extract, infusion, and detoxin. Among these preparations, the aqueous extract that contains butylene, butylenic acid, and ethanol was chosen to evaluate and compare its cytotoxic activity towards human lung and carcinoma cells and human bronchial epithelial cells. Okay, so chaga is really directly related to lung functions, and we've known about this for years. And drinking in hot tea helps, or hot water, it helps the body to saturate itself. As far as you know, if you feel sick coming on, you drink some hot broth. Chicken broth is really good for the feeling of being nourished. And the last one is quite it is this number 6 mushroom. I would like to present is tiger's milk mushroom. They use it. TMM is a acronym for it. Tiger milk mushroom, TMM, Lignosus rhinoceros, was first mentioned in the Diary of John Evelyn about 400 years ago. The Diary of John Evelyn is a really interesting manuscript. It features mushrooms. Well, it's a repositories collection by the Order at Paris from Jesuits of Japan and China. Okay, so it's basically a written down purpose for fungus in our diets, medicinal fungus, and a lot of extraction companies refer to this as its basis for promoting the medicinal purposes of these mushrooms. As you noted, I said something of each one that's written upon their container. That's basically drawn from this diary. But the point is much less of me knowing what this Diary of John Evelyn is about 400 years ago. But it is, this mushroom is commonly known as Sandawan Susurimau or Kulat Susurimau, meaning tiger milk mushroom. It was successfully cultivated in 2009, thus making it commercially available and spurring researches on its therapeutic uses. Its sclerotium extracts have been shown to be antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-asthmatic, and enhanced immunomodulatory activities. But tiger's milk is known as an analogous form of our lungs, meaning that if you look at the human body essentially as a fungus factory, we have the brain, which is lion's mane, we have the lung, which is tiger's milk, we have the blood supplies, which is cordyceps, etc., etc., etc. So my as a combination of these 6 becomes a pulmonary resource, pulmonary medicinal resource, in a vaping format. I discussed my chosen vape, which is the V-Mate by Whoopoo. This gives me, my experience, the best flavor, the best embodiment of the source of. I have a few devices that I'm using, and this one happens to be my favorite one. And as contrast, this is a commercially available vaping device by one of the largest vaping companies at the moment. This is my scale. I got this scale because I'm measuring mushrooms. It's like measuring dust. And I got it because of this cover here. So I can, and what I've done was, what I have done was essentially bringing a 100 milliliters of glycerin. This glycerin is 70-30, 70% vegetable glycerin, 30% PG, which is prophenol glycerin. The reason I'm doing this, okay, so I teared out an empty cartridge. I have my in the use cartridge to show you by weight of glycerin. I have 2.15 grams. That's the weight. What is that in milliliters? Right? A rule of thumb, milliliters and grams are essentially the same, 1,000 parts. A 1 of 1,000, or a 1 with 1,000 parts. A milliliter is 1,000 parts. So a gram would be composed of 1,000 parts. I mean, it's not that accurate to say it like that. I mean, the mathematics is better, but essentially, I smoked from. Well, if you look at this particular device, this is essentially a pack of cigarettes, and the mathematics boil it down to 0.09 milliliters as a cigarette. So essentially, I smoked 10 cigarettes out of this particular amount. This is 3 milliliters, whereas that was 1.8 milliliters. 2 of those would be 2 packs of cigarettes. So why is that important that I explained that to you? In the realm of vaping, in order to get the FDA approval, they needed 1 year's worth of smoke. The FDA and R.J. Reynolds decided to list 1 year of average smokers' use to be 10 cigarettes or 11 cigarettes a day. And that would equate to 4,000 cigarettes at the end of a year. So they would like 4,000 cigarettes to test. The FDA would like 4,000 cigarettes to test. So I decided to buy a container and containers to go in it to send to them a year's worth of mushroom vape solution. Secondly, to get the approval, this particular brand has been approved by the FDA, and of course, the one I showed you previously, of course, is effectively granted approval by the FDA. So what I had begun to do in my series, or in my preparation, is to take a gram of mushrooms, combination form, 6 mushrooms into a gram to 100 milliliters. what I decided to do was take 6 grams and make 9,000 or 900 milliliters, and this is a 16 ounces of that 900 milliliters. This is essentially. So what is the process? The process is to initiate the mix. What I was doing at first was weighing out a gram, mixing it with 100 milliliters, and then straining it through a wire mesh, stainless steel wire mesh. And at first I was getting a lot of solids left over, and I was going to market this as a gram per, whatever, but having all those solids taken out was causing me an issue of saying it's a gram of mushrooms, but it's not. So I decided to use the ethanol extraction, as the research papers documented that releasing with ethanol from the solids these polysaccharides is beneficial for the body to use. So in a vape sense, the ethanol extraction helps, and it helps in this purpose. So when I put a whole gram of each of these together, filling this up, I was able to mix into 900 milliliters of glycerin. Now, I had to keep adding glycerin because it was too thick at one point, but I digress. My point is I got that amount. That amount, what is the amount of a year's worth is 380, is it, milliliters? So 15 times 24 is the number. So I may be wrong on my calculation. Maybe it's 360 milliliters. But my point is that's a year's worth. This would be essentially a year's worth. If I made it for you, I would send you a year's worth. Thank you for hanging in there and watching this video. I appreciate your time and comments.